Good morning. I think we're live. I did find the live bit,
Yeah.
as in the chat,
Oh, good. We made progress slowly.
after all these episodes.
Yeah.
So, good morning to everybody at home. And this week we're going to talk colour because we've been doing this summer colour thing over the whole of the summer, the 3 months. But this month we've got to colour matching. So we thought this morning we would talk about colour matching, but not not how to colour match, because if you want to know how to colour match, we're doing that in Art Hub. But this is about, is it necessary as a contemporary artist to colour match? Why do we colour match? That sort of thing. So we just thought we'd talk colour. I can talk colour forever.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, isn't it? There's a lot to it. And we're also going to be talking about like choosing colour palettes as well, whether you decide to choose something or go with your instincts. And I think like when you know it's time to maybe change and get outside of your comfort zone with colour as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'd like to also talk about the difference. Well, I will talk a little bit about how I colour match because that explains a little bit more about colour as well. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So, first of all, what is colour matching? And I know that that seems really, really obvious, I think. But then, the curse of knowledge and the fact that we're artists and we know what colour matching is. We're just there's a difference when you're actually copying something and you're copying, say, for instance, we've got this sort of redder tone here or a yellower tone there. And the colour matching is literally mixing a colour to be exactly to that.
Yeah,
The difficulty with colour matching is that everything's relative.
yeah.
So you can mix something on a white palette, for example, and it looks one colour, and then you put it onto your painting and it
And
looks
it
very,
looks
very
different.
different.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes some time, doesn't it, to understand how to mix your colour so you want it to look like what it should look like on the
Yeah.
canvas as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Ruth, can you just confirm that we're live just to like,
Yeah, it says that we're live. I can have a
excellent.
quick look on YouTube.
I'm
Is
going
it?
to just put something in the chat as well because every week I'm like, hi, all. If you're with us, give us an emoji. It would help. I got my glasses on. Are with us. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you're definitely live. I can see us.
Could you see the chat? I
Uh,
know it sounds really silly that I'm that excited about the chat, considering that I
yeah.
really should know of, yeah.
I just worry that if I click on it, the sound's gonna come through as well on my side, but I'm sure it's working. So yeah,
Okay,
colour
so back to
matching.
colour. Yes. So the simplicity of it is when I was younger, my sister she used to just be very, very good. She did a fine art degree, and when you're doing it all the time, it becomes easier to colour match, doesn't it? And I
Yes.
remember her having this like she had this violin, and she was painting a picture of this violin, and there was this lovely sort of warm brown colour, and she just went mix this colour, and I was just like, how did you do that? And she said, I'm just doing it all the time. It's not,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it, and, but it always was like something that I'd got in my head that I could never actually manage to do that. And when I started to have students myself and I was mixing colour and I realised that there really are techniques to get you to be able to colour match. And when we start doing it with students, it's really interesting because sometimes they have these real aha moments.
Mhm.
And if you go through, there's an exercise, and it's the one that I'm going to do in Art Hub this month, where you start thinking about tonal value and about the colour separately. And
Mhm.
just simply, so sorry, the hue of the colour. separately. And what I mean by that is whether you think first about the dark and light and you mix to, and then you think about, is it the right colour? Is it more, say for instance, is it more a greeny brown or is it more a reddy brown or whatever? And the other thing that I do is just get them to only pick so many colours. So
Yeah.
and it's a simple exercise, but another thing people don't realize is that you can lighten color with yellow or with
Yeah.
white. So everybody would lighten a color with white, but that doesn't necessarily. So but if you're wanting to go more yellow, sometimes it helps to lighten it with yellow and make it. And so to know whether a color is light or dark. So for example, if you've got three primaries, you've got your blue, your red, and your yellow, and you're mixing a yellow with one of those other colors, it's going to stay lighter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the darkest color is always going to be the blue and red together.
Yeah.
And then what I'm going to do for the colour matching exercise, I don't use brown loads, but if you add a brown in, brown can help to darken. And if so, we've got just the three primaries, white and brown, and that helps you. It won't mix the brightest of, you know, traffic cone orange
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it won't, but it will mix the general colours like the nature colours that you
Mm-hmm.
see on an everyday basis. It won't mix the brightest of blues on a sunny day in the sea, you know, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah. Have you ever struggled with mixing any particular colour?
Well, that's the sort I
Did
I
you, have you
notice
ever
other
been,
people struggle.
but have you ever been stuck on a particular colour?
Me, I don't get stuck on a colour now.
No,
I
but have
don't
you
know
in the
whether I did.
past?
Probably.
Yeah. I remember struggling with purple and getting the right purple that I wanted to get.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
And
I don't
I,
remember, Ruth, because I spent a lot of time working out how to do it. So obviously I must
yeah,
have struggled,
yeah,
but I don't remember it as a struggle. I remember it as aha, you
yeah,
can't get that purple
yeah.
because you're mixing dull colours together and you want a bright purple, for example.
Yeah, it was more the fact that I discovered magenta as a kind of because there's certain colours, aren't there, that mix beautifully well together.
Yes.
And there's, I think you're probably the same as me. You've probably got certain hues in your paint box now that you go to a lot because you know that they'll mix certain colours and they're going to get the effects that you want them to. So I think that's another thing, isn't it? Like in terms of what you've got on your paint palette and what you choose to mix with. And also, I suppose, like the qualities of the paint. So, for instance, like yellow's quite a hard one to get like a really vivid colour, isn't it? You have to layer it up, and I always find with my yellows, I tend to add a bit of white in it just to give it a bit of something to kind of stick to. So then I
Mm.
can layer things up. So it also depends whether you just go straight from a white primer. Some
Mm.
artists choose to use a background colour, don't they, if they want a particular feel, if they maybe want it to be on the warmer side or the cooler side,
Yeah,
to
I do
then
that a lot.
layer things
But
up.
yellow doesn't, it's because of the transparency of the yellow that you
Yeah,
just, yeah, it doesn't have that power.
yeah,
Sometimes I think of them as having, they're almost like personalities. That's
yeah,
how I
it's
think of
true, isn't it?
colours.
Yeah.
It is true because some of them are overpowering.
And you only need a tiny, tiny little bit, and you have to be
Yeah.
really careful with it, otherwise it just
Yeah.
takes over. Yeah,
And sometimes the synthetics, even though they are transparent in, they are still quite powerful. They have
yeah,
like very high pigment loads.
yeah,
And so you do get to know. And that's why I think when people say about having a limited palette at first, it's a really good thing from the perspective of when you're learning, getting to know each colour.
yeah,
Because I have had difficulty mixing colours with new colours. actually.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
stopped to think about it, and you asked that question earlier, and I was thinking it was more of a learning curve, but it's still a learning curve. So if I introduce something like Pyrrole red or something a red that I don't know or
Yeah.
that sort of thing, then you go, oh, this doesn't mix the same as I was
Yeah.
expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely get that. But that's also really fun.
Yeah.
But then I just enjoy colour. I just generally love colour. So I like playing with the new paints as well. So, but from the point of view of colour matching, it does help to be colour matching, I think, with a basic palette. And then if you need to stretch a colour, so for example, if you wanted the brightest of oranges,
Hmm.
and you may need some extra colours just to be able to push. You might want to have a phthalo blue or
Hmm.
something, or a
Hmm.
cerulean or something that just pushes the blue if you were
Hmm.
using ultramarine, for example. You don't need all the colours that are out there for certain to colour
No,
match.
no,
Not
definitely
at
not.
all. In fact, it
No.
probably doesn't help.
No, my paints now are quite sort of restricted. I know what I like and I know what I can do with them. I don't have like pre-mixed colours, so um greens and purples and things like that because I can do what I want to with the primaries that I've got, generally
Mm,
speaking.
mm. And if you go back to the colour matching thing, would you say that as part of your process, you're colour matching?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not always. For me, so the painting that I'm doing at the moment is a bit different from my normal colour palette. I collected quite a lot of references from photos in terms of florals and botanicals. Um, and what I tend to do is some of those photos I'll use as realistic colour matching. So there'll be certain colours that I definitely want to pull out. And then other parts of the painting will be more like intuitive. So I'll be like, so for example, if we see in that top corner there, those colours are fairly realistic, but underneath those greens and the surrounding kind of darker bluey colours, those are colours that I've chosen from my imagination and from my intuition rather than colour matching. And that's more about what complements each other on the canvas. And for me, that takes a bit of time and a bit of layering and a bit of, oh, does it need more blue there? Does it need to go a bit warmer there? What looks right next to it? Because the other thing about colour matching is as soon as you put another colour next to another colour, they're both changed, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a bit of both.
And that's something that actually, when this isn't colour matching, but when I'm trying to find a palettes that go together, or
Mm.
say, and when I say palettes, I don't mean the colours that are on the palette, I mean the mix of colours. I'm still working quite hard on the desaturated versions and how they go together, and that's part of my newer sort of process. Isn't the right word. It's my newer intention.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
work a lot more with some of the subtle colours. I
yeah,
really like the subtleties of things.
yeah,
So, and you're doing quite a lot with the darks there. There's a
yeah.
lot of beautiful colours in the darks in that painting behind you.
Yeah, yeah, which is something different for me. So it's taken me a while longer to kind of work out how I want that to look because it's not my usual kind of colour palette, but I chose to push myself out my comfort zone and do something a bit different.
Yeah, and I'm working on like contrasts of colour and that sort of thing. So that's quite interesting. I
Yeah,
did one yesterday. Is that
yeah,
this is quite interesting. So I did this completely off my just I was in the group and in class and I
yeah,
just thought, right, okay, let's just put a few colours together. And I just grabbed whatever colours were.
Oh,
And
it's
that
beautiful.
it was just lovely because I just did it. And
Yeah,
I was doing it to try a technique out. And then I was like, okay, what do I do with this now?
yeah.
So I did it because do you remember that I had a question in the Art Hub Facebook group and
Hmm.
about that painting medium,
Yeah,
the blending, because it was such a hot day yesterday. I'm
yeah.
like, try this out. So I tried it out in the background, and then I'm like, right, okay, what am I going to do with it now? So and so I just played, and it was great because this is just like people saying, oh, it's like in Australia, and what do the Australian plants look like? And then somebody got something off the internet, and it was like, we'll go with something like that. And I don't know whether it reminds people of Australia, but they were
Yeah.
responding in that way.
Yeah,
So,
I
and
can
it was
see that
just,
definitely. It definitely feels like a really hot sort of day.
yeah,
And I think like some of the colours that you've got in the foreground as well remind me of
yeah.
Australia kind of botanicals and some of the shapes you've got in there too.
And we were just responding to what was happening because it was hot yesterday. And
Yeah.
one of the ladies nearly fainted. I had to get the
Oh gosh.
I had to get a fan. Oh, that's the fan. There's the fan. Look, I had to get a fan, and it was awful because it was so
It
hot.
was really hot yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. And but then we all cooled down and we
Yeah.
painted hot things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was
Yeah.
good. It was
But I
good in
think
that way.
colours can definitely relate to seasons, temperature, environment as well, can't they? And that's bound to have an influence on what it is that you're choosing to use in your colour palettes as well.
Yeah, and I allow that a lot more now.
Yeah.
So in the past, I used to sort of almost fight it,
Hmm.
not because I felt like I had to. I have had this thing of learning your colours and
Yeah.
introducing the odd colour.
Yeah.
I've sort of done that, even though sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm a kiddie in a sweet shop and I'm going to just buy all these colours because they look beautiful. But generally, I'm quite like let's get to know my colours a little bit.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of colour, but I tend to do that. But what I've noticed is I now allow myself to change colours with the season because it feels right.
Yeah. Yeah. It probably feels more comfortable, doesn't it? And I think we all have to go through that stage of learning as well and going through all of that before you can feel comfortable to be more experimental and explore more and
Mm,
try new things out. So, I think what helped me with colour a lot was we did the colour wheel at college, just
mm,
understanding how different colours blend together. Because sometimes people will ask you when you say to them in a workshop or a class, I think you need a bit more warmth in there. I think you need a bit of red, or the other way. I think you need a bit of blue to cool that down. And they'll be like, how did you know? It's almost like reading, isn't it, with colours? You
mm,
can read what's in that particular colour. And it does
mm,
take time. And I think doing the colour wheel helps you understand if I mix a bit of blue with this, what it's going to look like, and then enable
mm.
you to do that kind of colour matching. So,
But doing that colour matching exercise, what I do is you have your yellow, your blue, and your red, and then in a way, we use the colour wheel, but I sort of draw it around a colour wheel,
yeah,
and then I put the brown next to the sort of red at the bottom and the white next to the yellow at the top. And then when you actually go to choose, so this is how to colour match. So when you go to choose, and I'll tell you what the colours that we use as well. I'll use something like, and I will try it because it's a long time since I've done it, but ultramarine blue, a burnt umber. I'll use a bluey red because we have to be able to reach all these different. So that would be
mm,
something like alizarin crimson,
mm,
permanent rose, quinacridone magenta, that sort of thing.
mm, mm,
And then a yellow at the top, probably a cad yellow or
mm,
that's and white. And then when you actually try go to choose a color, I then get tend to get people to mix colors so for example, turquoise, you might want to like, you actually have to have white in it. So there's
Yeah.
certain colours, or peach, you have to have white in it. People don't understand. They go, yes, it's an orangey colour. They can see that peach is an orangey colour. So they put the yellow and the red, and then they don't understand that peach has got lots of white in. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting that
Mm-hmm.
people don't see that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's quite, yeah. Or just by knocking, just by a tiny bit of something from the other side of the wheel. But the way that we do it with the colour matching is we get people to say, does it need to be more yellow, red, blue, but also more orange, green?
Yeah.
What is it that you're feeling that it needs more of?
Yeah.
And then if you don't know the answer to that question, sometimes you can go, is the colour you're trying to match more red or more blue? Yeah. But then when you do that, you then go, right, okay, so is it the right darkness or lightness? And then you add the darks, which is like the brown, the blue, the red, or the white and the the yellow to
Yeah.
it in
Yeah.
order to go, is it light or is it dark? And so you start to break down the decisions, because it's the decisions that's the problem. Because when somebody has got so many colours to choose from, what colour do you use? Whereas if you say, is the colour that you're matching darker or lighter than this colour? It's darker. Okay, so don't add white or yellow.
Yeah.
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 Don't even think about what hue it is.
Yeah.
Just go darker.
Yeah.
Now look again. Does
Yeah.
it need to be, yeah, a different which color, which hue? Once that changes, you go, okay, is it darker or lighter again? Yeah. And it works. It really works. And the thing is, what really works is the first time you do it, it takes ages. But then as you start to do it, this is a really quick exercise to learn your colour matching. Because if you just spend a bit of time doing that,
Yeah.
it's amazing how quickly you'll start to see. You know what you were saying about how, because you've broken it down, people start to naturally see it and naturally
Yeah.
start to colour match
Yeah.
because
They
their brain gets
they
used to it. It's like
understand.
muscle memory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they understand. It's a bit, I suppose it's a bit like cooking or baking, isn't it? They understand what ingredients they need to make it work. And once they've got an understanding of their ingredients and how to put it together, you can then explore more, can't you? And be comfortable in your colour matching and what to do with your colours.
It amazes me. And then you start to ask questions, and sometimes people often do say that something is more blue or more red.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
isn't actually a problem for them. And they
Uh-huh.
do see whether something's darker or lighter.
Yeah, yeah,
So therefore, they can do it.
yeah.
They just think that what they think is what I thought with Michelle, that's my sister. I just thought, oh, she can do it. I could never do that. It's just one of those, it's another one of those. Whereas actually, it's just a process again. It's
Yeah,
just
there is a science to it, isn't there? And you can learn it.
for certain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And you can teach it as well.
yeah,
It's like, it's really, and then the time that I find it difficult sometimes, which is really interesting, is people say to me, how do I get that colour? So
mm,
I go across, and to describe it, I can't always describe it.
mm,
And I say, let me just have a little play on your palette, because with your
yeah,
colours.
yeah,
And sometimes I'll go and I'll go, ah, you just haven't got the right colour on there. There's something
yeah.
that's missing. But if I don't physically do
Do
it,
it. Yeah, it's very much a doing exercise, isn't it? I'm exactly the same with my colours.
I was
Yeah,
wondering, because you were saying about how you can just sometimes say to somebody that you need
yeah.
to be, sometimes it's obvious,
Sometimes you
but
can spot it, but other times you're like, you need to get a paintbrush and start
yeah,
mixing, don't you? To,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And then because what I find with beginners as well, real beginners, they just go, I can't mix this colour. And it's like, they think it's them.
Hmm. Hmm.
But sometimes you can't mix the colour because you're using the wrong colours to mix it. You need an extra colour. You need something that'll boost that colour.
Yeah, yeah. And
See,
also sometimes people can be quite stingy with paint, can't they, when they're first starting out
oh yeah, but
and they're
that's
not.
not, yeah, yeah, sorry.
It can impact it because if you're not using enough yellow or white or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
they're just adding a little bit, then that can affect things as well, can't it?
But, right, I haven't got a brush here, but, oh yes, I have. Yeah. But what I find is when people first start mixing colour, what they do is they mix the colour. So say that was like a little bit of colour. And what they do is they mix the colour, start to mix the colour, and then they go and get a colour and they do this great big glob of colour and then they put it in and then they've just overshot and gone to a
Yeah,
completely different colour.
yeah,
So then I say to them, just go in like this and just pick up the tiniest bit of colour.
yeah.
And that's quite interesting because I think the biggest issue with colour mixing isn't the taking too much colour. It's, sorry, isn't the taking too little colour, it's the taking too much.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the other thing is, you know what we were talking about right at the very beginning, where the overpowering colours, sometimes if you start with a darker colour, you have to add loads of the light. But if you start with a light colour, then you just have to pick tiny bits. It's
Yeah,
learning the way round that's easier to mix the
yeah,
colour
yeah.
faster.
That's true. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what I see people do. And they go, oh, I can't do this because it's just overshot again. And you're like, yeah, but just, and I tell them to take the brush and just literally run it along the palette until it touches
yeah,
and then just start to, it's that tiny amounts can make all the difference.
yeah,
And it's hard that when you first start.
yeah, yeah. I
Mm,
think it's interesting when I started using oil paints because I think one of the major differences between oil and acrylics is that oils tend to soak into the canvas more. So once you've put a layer of paint on, it kind of pushes back into the canvas, so it won't be as vivid.
vibrant. Right.
So there's a lot of layering that I do with oil paints, which I think the majority of artists do. So there's probably a bit of difference between you using acrylics, but I'd be interested to hear about how you've been getting on with putting oils over acrylics because you've done a bit of that recently, haven't you? In terms
Mm.
of colour and whether have you noticed anything different using the oils on top of the acrylics?
Yeah, what I like about the oils on top of the acrylics is that you think of acrylic as vibrant paint, but actually the oil brings out the colours more.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
So, so what I thought would happen with oils when I first did it, the first painting I did with oils, and I've never really painted with oils on their own. Well, I have, but only to play really. So,
Yeah.
but I've painted oils on top of acrylic, and what I found with the first painting I ever did, I did it for blending reasons. I did it because I wanted to blend easier, and so that's why I was using it to experiment. And was finishing a seascape painting, and I was like, "Oh, this is lovely," because it just sort of brought those colours out. Now it could be
Mm,
we did something similar yesterday where somebody had got some darks in the background that were beautiful colours, but it was very matte. And what
mm,
we did was I just put like a glazing medium, gloss medium, that sort of thing on top. And because it was glossy, it brings the colours out. So I do
mm,
think there's an element to the fact that the oil has that glossy effect that
mm-hmm.
brings out the colours.
Yeah.
And for some reason, acrylic does just matte it off, even when you gloss. And yeah, there's
Yeah.
something that's just more, I suppose it's more natural. There's a
Mm,
feel about it. Um, it's probably subtle. I'm not sure that everybody would notice that, but I think that it's a very, very lovely finish. From the point of view of mixing colour, I think with watercolour, it dries lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And with acrylic, it dries slightly darker, supposedly,
Mm-hmm.
although I've never
Mm-hmm.
noticed it hugely.
Yeah.
With oil, it's meant to be that the colour it is when it's wet is the colour it is when it's dry.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
But I've not heard what you're saying about, I think that the layering side is the same for acrylic. I don't think you
Mm.
can't just get away with a simple. It doesn't look finished. It doesn't have the depth to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you were
Mm-hmm.
using the same, you'd have to put really thick coats of paint in order to do very few layers.
Mm.
So I always layer as well. I'm
Yeah.
not sure that's purely oil,
I
the
think it is more
layering.
apparent in oil. It does, I've definitely heard other artists say it does like sink back into the canvas. A lot of artists choose to finish their oil paintings with a quite a glossy um, varnish, which pulls out the
The
colours
colour.
more again when you put that onto oil paint.
Do you finish with a gloss or a satin type varnish?
I use a beeswax, which is like a natural
Mm,
material. The reason why I use that is because you can choose to, if you polish it up more, you can get more of a gloss on it, or you can choose to leave it quite matte and natural if you don't polish it up too much. But you've got more control over it than the liquid varnishes because I've done that in the past, but I didn't enjoy it at all because it
mm,
just felt like such a final exercise, and if something goes wrong with the varnish, then it's very hard to correct it. So, yeah, I choose to like more, it's more of like a manual, slow process with the beeswax. You literally rub it in,
mm.
and it looks a bit like a Vaseline or something. So you've got lots of control over it and how shiny you want it to be. You've got more control. You've got more of a spectrum as well. It's not just matte or gloss. You can go somewhere in between as well.
So is the beeswax different from, because I use cold wax to finish paintings. Um,
Yeah,
but the
it might be.
cold,
It's probably very similar. It's probably
I'm
very similar
wondering.
stuff. Yeah, I just like the beeswax. It's got a nice feel to it as well. It's got a nice sort of tactile feel.
Yeah, so I've painted in wax, but I've also finished in wax.
Yeah,
But um, the wax I use to finish is it's got oil in it, so it is like so it probably is quite similar. And I used to always varnish. So I vary what I do. Sometimes I'll varnish with an acrylic varnish, sometimes with a solvent varnish,
yeah,
but and sometimes with with the cold wax. It's not beeswax, so I don't. That's what I'm not sure about whether it's slightly
yeah.
different.
It's probably very similar. Yeah,
Mm, yeah. So I do like that, but the actual painting that I start to do more, and I do want to do more and more of the oil painting on top. It's still less familiar for me, so it's not as quick. So
yeah,
because I can paint really quickly with acrylics, I'm so
yeah,
used to it, and I don't have the blending problems that other people have because I'm just used to it. So
yeah,
I don't have those issues. Um, it's not why I want to paint with oil on top. It's to do with the qualities of it. It's to do with
yes,
the way it it has a more finished. It's almost like a more natural feel to it. There's something
yeah,
about it
yeah,
um, that I like, and that it's to do with those qualities.
hmm
And
hmm
I think you can get even more detail, more. I'm not saying you can't get detail with acrylic because you can, but I think it's easier to get certain details. And
yeah.
yeah, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before, I just find oil just easier to use. I'm always a bit confused as to why people think it's the more advanced material compared to acrylic, because I just find I just paint easier with oil. I couldn't go back to acrylic now. I just find it difficult to use. I've kind of forgotten how to
Yeah,
use
I get that. I get because I feel a bit like that
it.
with watercolor, to be honest, because I used to
Yeah.
paint in watercolor all the time, and then I'm like, I mean, yeah, yes. I mean, I'll still have a go, and I'll definitely sketch with watercolor, but it's not as natural as it was
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
been a while. But with oil, I hadn't really because I haven't done many oils from scratch, so therefore I don't know about that sinking in thing that you're talking about because I
Yeah,
haven't done it. I
yeah,
tended to use the oil on top or combined or
yeah,
with wax
yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever it is. That's why I don't really know about what you're talking about, but
yeah.
it's interesting. Yeah. I don't, I've done a couple of oil paintings where no, I'm trying to think whether I did. I think that one might be all oil because I have been playing with the oil.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I might have started it in acrylic. I'm suspecting I started it in acrylic. I'm suspecting that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's easy for me. So
yeah, yeah.
you do start to do what's easy. But the reason I look like acrylic is not to do with it's to do with the fact that I use it as a glue. I use it I mix it with mediums to make it
Mm,
thicker. I do. So what I do with it's so versatile and because I
it
do things
is.
like collage
Yeah,
and mixed media. And because
yeah,
I
it works
understand
as
about
well.
all those mediums and how to use things and how to put it together, it makes it a very, very versatile thing for me to use. And that's why I like it. And I can
Yeah,
make it thinner. I can make it on paper, work a bit like a watercolor. It's not the same, but it's similar. And I can also do the opposite. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I understand that. And I think because it is a water-based medium, generally speaking, it's easier to mix things with it, isn't it? And with oils, you have to kind of be a bit more careful with what you're doing on the surface with the paint because it's got a different base. It's obviously oil based. So,
Yeah, and you're much more likely to make a mistake from the cracking point of view with an oil, which is possibly why people have this thing about oils being a bit more,
mm,
what's the word? Like you said, a bit more professional, a
bit
bit more
more
because
advanced
a bit more
technically.
advanced because
Yeah,
you feel that you have to be thinner with your paint at first and then work to a
yeah.
thicker. But it's not, I don't think it's as tricky as people feel it is
No, no. And to me, it just feels more natural when I'm paint. I just like
painting.
the feel of it. I just
I
like the
get
feel of it.
that. I get it because you've got more working time, and
Yeah,
that is just pleasant, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah,
Yeah. But I'm having difficulty, and it's only because of what I'm used to, that when I'm working on an oil layer, that I forget and it's still wet when I'm not thinking it's wet. And
yeah,
that's just a learning curve. That's just so you can then muck it up because you're working on something that
yeah.
um yeah, but what I like about wax, sorry, changing the subject completely, is and I'm starting to want to reveal things underneath. And I'm thinking with the oil it might do a similar thing,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
particularly if I've got acrylic underneath.
Yeah, yeah.
So because that quite excites me, the idea of like being able to have under layers
The
that you can't
layers.
see,
Yeah.
particularly with my writings and things like that I'm
Mm-hmm,
doing. So, because I
mm-hmm,
write underneath my paintings and
mm-hmm,
put intentions in and do things like
mm-hmm,
that, and
mm-hmm,
then having being able to pull it back and reveal.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I haven't really looked at that with oil, but I've done it with wax.
mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Mm.
So bringing it back to colour wise then, anything else we want to discuss?
I think that we'll just go back to the questions again. So, from a contemporary artist point of view, is it necessary to colour match or learn colour matching?
I think it's very helpful to learn colour matching because
Yeah.
even if you're working more intuitively and say you've got a colour in your imagination or something that you want it to look like, you still need to know how to be able to make that colour in order to have that effect on the painting. whether or not you've got a specific reference or whether you're just kind of doing it as you go, you still need to know, is this a warmer colour I'm after? Do I want more yellow in it? Does it need to be more desaturated, more saturated? And in order to paint that on the canvas, you need to know how to mix that colour. So I
Yeah.
think you do need to know, really.
I think you really need to know. I mean, I was only, it's like devil's advocate. I was
Yeah.
asking the question, but the reality is, I think that I've seen it in so many people where when they've started to learn it consciously how to colour match, how much easier and more harmonious their paintings become. Because sometimes at the very beginning, people will go, I need green, so I'll just get that green tube, and I'll need this, so I'll just get that, and not actually providing a cohesive feel to the
The,
paintings as
and the
well.
other thing is sometimes you might not want a cohesive feel. Sometimes but as a contemporary
Oh,
artist,
yeah.
you might want the painting to feel a little bit eerie.
A
You
bit
might want it to
clashy.
feel
Yeah,
a bit like there's contrast, there's conflict there. But in order to know how to paint that with colour, you also need to know a thing
you
or
do.
two about colour, don't you? Like this,
Exactly. And I'm still working on that, which is what I was saying to you about the desaturated and the subtleties.
yeah,
Yeah, if you can get to know your colours and understand. I think it's similar to, when we go out into the world and people are quite new and they start to say, oh, I'm noticing that I can see more colour out there in the world. I
yeah,
think the same happens on your palette. You start to,
yeah,
like you were saying, you start to see whether it's more bluey or more red.
yeah,
And it's, it is honing those skills, isn't it?
yeah.
And it just helps you generally as an artist.
Yeah,
Generally. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So that's good. This is an interesting episode.
Yeah, it was. We covered quite a lot.
I like talking colour.
Yeah, yeah, so much in it, isn't there?
Well, there is, because the pigments are quite similar. They are the same over the different mediums because we've touched on oil and acrylic as
Mm,
well.
hmm. Yeah, yeah,
So things act in a different way depending on what qualities of paint are in, what's happening.
yeah,
So I need to talk transparency and opaqueness at some point. That's quite
yeah,
interesting too.
yeah.
Mm.
It's also interesting, I think, with like colour trends that you get as well. So you get colour of the year, don't you? What's that paint manufacturer called that does, or they always have a colour of the year? Um,
It's not so Windsor and Newton don't have. Is it them that who's having
no,
a
no,
colour?
no, no.
No,
It's
I
more
don't. I
like
don't
an
know. I've heard of it,
interior.
but I can't remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. Well, anyway, there's like a colour of the year and it's like a trend. So you notice how like in things like interior design, there'll be
Yeah.
trends
Oh yeah.
and like sometimes it's more on the neutral side of things. I went to a really interesting conference actually a few years ago that was for Premier Vision, which is like a textiles event.
Yeah.
And
I'm just
that's
looking up colour of the year.
always
Hmm.
have you found it, Debs?
Pantone. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, 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 yeah. Pantone colour.
Yeah.
What is it this year?
Um, it's hang on a minute because I might be getting that wrong. 2025. What colour of the year is 20? Mocha mousse.
Oh, I imagine that's
Oh.
quite a neutrally. Oh, it's nice. It's quite pink,
Mm,
isn't it? Brownie
mm,
pink. Yeah,
yeah. So there we go.
yeah.
Colour of the year 2025.
Yeah, so for this conference that I went to, it was all about predicting future trends, and within that they talked about colour. They talked about the psychology of colour and why there's particular colours that are going to be on trend. So Premier Vision, this textiles event, is about fashion buyers, textile buyers will buy things for to launch in like another 3 years. So they'll be looking for people that are ahead of the trends and know what's coming up next. So part of the whole textiles thing was understanding future trends and what's going on. And all of that is influenced by what's going on in the world. It's not just a
That's
randomly
really interesting.
picked
We're going to talk about
thing.
that in a future episode.
Yeah,
I
because
think that's,
it's super interesting. It's about psychology and society, politics, technology, all of these different things.
yeah, I've just written that down
Mm.
'cause I think that
Yeah,
that would be a really interesting episode.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I think on that note, we've probably covered today's episode. However, I do want to mention the fact that I've been accepted in the Open Spaces 2025 Visual Artists Association.
Exciting.
It's very exciting. So that means that we are on the map. This studio in here is on the map in October. And I'm going to open my studio on Fridays and Saturdays in October for people to visit. And a huge bonus is that the pub next door has reopened. So we're going to be working with. So Lydia, my friend, she has got paintings in Church Eaton, a village next to us, and she's got them in the pub. And I've actually here, and my studio is separate, but I've got a gate from the pub. So we're going to, and we're both on the art trail, on the global art trail. So we're actually a bit like, whoa, how did that happen?
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting.
It's very exciting. And what I decided was I will start painting. So I will be a working studio
Yeah.
during that time. And on the Fridays and Saturdays, I'm going to be painting. So come see my work that's finished, but also come and see me paint the new collection. So that's
Mm,
really
that's
exciting.
cool.
Yeah, because I thought it's time to get that collection moving. It's
Yeah.
easy somehow, it's easier in autumn, late winter, spring, isn't it, to paint? Well, I
I
find.
find it easier. I find some are very much like a process of like more, and actually my art coach has even encouraged me, set me homework to do more sketchbook work and
Yes.
just kind of do
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
collating that in almost like an incubation period, which you might naturally think would happen more in the winter, autumn, but actually I'm finding that the summer months have been good to do all of that because
Mm,
we are busy socializing, seeing people,
mm.
um, all of that stuff. So,
And
um,
also, frankly, it's quite good to go out
oh yeah, you're gonna,
sketching when it's
yeah,
nice.
yeah,
It's like,
definitely, yeah,
yeah. It's quite nice in the winter, not sketching. I tend to take photos more. I'm not.
yeah,
But I do like going out when it's crisp. There's
mm,
you've got the snow, you've got things like the ice. You see the icicles forming on the webs and things like that. And it's just yeah, there is something a bit special about that
yeah,
crunchiness as well, isn't
yeah,
there?
yeah, yeah. I agree.
Um, but autumn is just for me, it's just an explosion of colour, but also an explosion of it's like I tend to get quite active in autumn,
Yeah,
just painting. Probably because I feel very inspired.
yeah, yeah.
I think summer it goes a bit green, but not spring green. So it's like, it's just very, it sounds weird because in spring you've got all that, everything's growing.
Coming
So
up,
you also
yeah,
feel like painting because everything's
yeah,
like new, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
quite interesting. I think summer's like chill. We've got to
yeah,
chill now.
yeah.
Right, and on that note, have you got anything other to say
No, I don't
news-wise?
think so, Debs. I think that's us.
Okay. All right. So remember we're here every Friday morning, either on my channel or on Ruth's channel. We take it in turns. Next week, I'm going to be going to see Ruth in Brighton.
Yay.
I know. So that's the first time I'll have gone to Brighton. So
Yeah,
it'll be lovely to see where you are.
yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, come and see the gallery as well. That'd be
Yeah,
good. So by next Friday, I'll be back.
Yeah, you will be, won't you? Yeah, you've
Yeah.
been gone.
So we'll perhaps fill you in a little bit about what we've been up to next week.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye, see you soon.